What the fuck? No way. Is there a second source on this? He is the source, bro. This Mike Prisner. He runs a he runs a philanthropic organization that offers legal counsel to troops that want to apply for conscientious objector status. Trump weighing invading several Iranian islands.
Oil, even as they've taken away the sanctions that would allow.
Okay, you guys are literally highlighting and making a bigger story out of like dumb shit. Okay, people that are not even on the billing on these events. You understand that, right? Like, we have a platform here. Be a little bit more responsible with it. You don't have to invite me into every single thing that you consider to be a controversy and derail what I'm trying to do right now. Okay? Stop being silly bitches and stop drama posting. There's more important things to cover right now. Okay?
Iran to sell that oil, but you know, being contradictory doesn't stop them. Does it sound to you that we're on the verge of a potentially dramatic escalation?
It does, Aaron. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but the likelihood has increased that it will happen. And what we're looking at is the increase in the force posture by the U.S. forces. The fact that not only do we have about 50,000 troops in the region right now, but we are also getting more. We're getting more airplanes, more Air Force squadrons are coming in, fighter squadrons are coming in. We have, of course, the two MEUs that are, one is basically there already and the other one is approaching. And then you also have, of course, the 82nd Airborne. So all of those elements are critical elements for America's firepower in general, and they don't make deployments like this just to have an exercise. This is a demonstration of force that could easily be used for actual combat operations.
And every time so far that Trump has done that in this.
So weird the dog isn't on cam anymore. Brother, I'm in New York City. And before that, I was in Cuba. Do you think I fly around with my 120-pound dog?
In this situation, frankly, even with Venezuela, he's used it. I
Yes.
mean, you know, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's the trend. Seth, when we talk about Abu Musa and two other smaller islands, you had talked about those. Axios is now reporting that he is indeed looking at those, and you had already said that was possibly a very likely option because they're in the strait as opposed to hundreds of miles north of the strait, which is where Har Island lies. So if Abu Musa is the target, then what does that look like?
Well, I think, Aaron, we've already seen partially what it looks like because what we've seen is U.S. aircraft striking a range of different targets on Abu Musa and several of those islands there. What that means is they're trying to target any air defense systems on there, stockpiles of weapons, any bunkers, communications centers, where if they do end up landing forces there, they're trying to limit the resistance that is faced. One thing that we have not seen a lot of is the bombing of those of airstrips in case they wanted to land aircraft,
right, those runways,
C-130 or C-17. So that all suggests the possibility of amphibious landings to seize those islands, which could be used both for defensive purposes if there were incoming strikes to target the any transits of the Strait of Hormuz, and offensive operations.
It's crazy because, like, we have no plan. Like, our plans are just a hope and a dream, right? Our plans all sound like don't siege Leningrad, take it immediately. Like, that's what it sounds like every time I hear like which island we are going to take militarily. I am reminded of that famous tweet from that one famous neo-Nazi being like, don't siege Leningrad, take it immediately. It's like, how do you hold it? How do you take it? How do you hold it? Like, notoriously, amphibious landings are some of the most notoriously deadly battles that America and every other country has ever had in their history. I mean, I'm Turkish. I'm reminded of Gallipoli, okay? Gallipoli was a spectacular failure for the invading forces. Okay? I mean, think about D-Day. It is an unbelievably difficult thing to do. And you're basically throwing piles of bodies into the grinder. And especially in this circumstance, there's not even, you do realize there are 1,000 people doing plans. It's just a question if the leadership's going to use them. Yeah, I know. I just don't think that, I don't, first of all, we don't have months of preparation. This is like kind of escalating beyond our control. And we just keep taking the most unhinged route over and over again. One of the craziest aspects of this, of course, is that, yeah, Yoav Gallant wrote about how this is a good plan. An indicted war criminal wrote this article. I wonder, now I don't have a free press subscription, so I'm not going to, pay for it or anything. But I would love to find out if Yoav Gallant is, holy shit, seriously, 200 total gifted subs. Thank you. 200 total so far. 50 in this last one. Hype train incoming. Shouts out. Oh, Houthis in Yemen officially announced entry into the conflict to support Iran. This is coming out 8 minutes ago. Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. Your voluntary subscriptions in the form of a $6 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime allow me to maintain my editorial independence. Piker Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today. Anyway, as I was going to say, I wonder if Yoav Gallant volunteered Israeli troops to engage in this land incursion. I somehow doubt it. Who took Mariam? Thank you for the 20 gifted. And Holo Sydney, thank you for the 25 gifted. Swiss P, thank you for the 5 gifted. We haven't gotten to the Cash Patel emails yet. We're still monitoring the fucking situation. TLDR is what? Former Israeli Defense Minister, war criminal Yoav Gallant, in an article for Barry Weiss's Free Press, says the U.S. should seize Karg Island. Maddie Icicle, thank you for the 10. And Lil B Stan, thank you for the 10 gifted. Sento1, thank you for the 5 gifted. Yes, there are risks, Gallant acknowledges. Any operation to seize Karg would require thousands of troops, sustained air and naval support, and detailed intelligence, and it would carry a real and expected cost in human life. Nonetheless, it's a risk he's willing to take with American soldiers' lives. Nice, nice, nice. And Juna Pete Farmer, Desh Clock, it's SB98, thank you for the 10. Howley Bop, Turbulent Pancakes. Hormuz may be closed, but all the oilers are coming in. Yeah. Spaceman SR, thank you for the Mood and Goo Fever. Thank you for the 20. God of Nativity, EP Lupo with the 10. Juliet Home. Nice. Pause it Chronic. Thank you for the 10. Yeah, Yoav Gallant hit the some of you may die, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. About American soldiers, by the way. Deleuze, thank you for the 10. Yes, I know what happened in Hoboken yesterday with Nurween Kaswani's attempted assassination being thwarted. I know. And Thamion, thank you. Anathika, thank you. God damn. Angry Raw Grinder, thank you for the 10. Fuzz, 3 Mug, RL, Techno Kitty. All right, I'm done. I'm done reading it out. I got to continue doing my coverage. Okay. Mooker T, thank you for the 10. So many gifted subs. I haven't been able to catch one. Yeah, it is what it is. Yo, it's Pipes.
into Iran itself for strikes.
And I know that, Colonel Layton, you said that the amount of warning time that troops on those islands would have from a missile from Iran could be as little as 10 seconds.
That's right,
so,
depending on where the missile is and what type of missile.
Which fits with what we're hearing the Pentagon is saying, that the scenarios they're looking at involve a very high level of potential casualties. A sobering moment, especially given some of the childish rhetoric that gets thrown around, right? We're talking about human lives. Trump reportedly considering an invasion of Larak Island, which lies in the narrowest part of the Strait of Hormuz and is key to Iran's control of the strait, part of the area that's now called Tehran's toll booth. The island is 49 square miles, very small, but it does host bunkers, attack craft that can blow up cargo ships, and radar technology that tracks activity in the strait. All of this Iranian military. Colonel Cedric Layton is back with us at the Magic Wall. So, Colonel Layton, you know, we've talked a lot about Karg. You know, I know Seth's talked about Abu Musa, but Larak is also important. We've got it highlighted here. What would an invasion of Larak look like, especially in the context of what you know is already in the region and what Trump has coming in?
Yeah, absolutely, Aaron. So just to orient people right here, this is where Larak is, right here at the mouth, basically, of the Strait of Hormuz if you're coming out this way. Abu Musa is here, and Karg Island is right up here in the northern part of the Gulf. So when you look at Larak specifically, it is right in this area right here where
Larak Hussein Obama.
The area right here where you could really cut off anything that's going through the strait. So this is a critical military target, or at least potentially a critical military target.
Where my sub at? Listen, first of all, you're already subscribed. And secondly, if you haven't been able to catch a gifted when they're peppering the chat, rabbit fingers, thank you for the 10, then you got to do it on your own, big dog. If you haven't been able to get a gifted sub at this point, you might as well use your Twitch Prime, you know? It's free. Every suggestion of how they might invade is dumber than the last. I know. And none of them factor in how they would be able to hold it. Let's say you actually invade, okay? You defeat the conventional forces on the ground. How the fuck do you hold it? Kawoki, thank you for the 25. How do you hold it? And then there's also reports, John Brown. There's also reports about, you know, America depleting its offensive Tomahawk missiles. Like they're just burning through the stockpile here. They're burning through the midnight oil like there's no tomorrow. They're behaving like there's not ever going to be. There's never gonna. Like, new events are not going to unfold. They're behaving like they won't need any missiles and that they'll be able to, you know, adequately rebuild their stockpiles.
And one of the key things is, how would you actually go about doing this? Well, you would bring in the Marine Expeditionary Units. This is the kind of thing that they do. They can invade using their Marine infantry to go across the beach. They have armor that they probably wouldn't use, but they might use helicopters to fast rope into an area. And they would also be able to use some of their other things, such as the...
No one understands what you stand for. I don't know what that's about.
Ospreys, for example, that it can be both helicopter-like, as in this phase, or airplane-like. So it's a very versatile platform. And then, of course, you have combat vehicles that they can actually send in. These are amphibious vehicles that can actually hit the beaches and disgorge Marines. So that becomes a critical thing, because when you look at Larak...
Here we go, back to QVC. Back to QVC. This is our favorite. American news broadcast is doing QVC for like all the coolest gear that will be fucking exploded by like $10,000 lawnmowers, dude. $10,000 flying lawnmowers that like drop multiple grenades worth of bombs. Like, it's just they got, dude, they have like tens of thousands of these fucking things, dude. It's crazy. You could talk about your amphibious shit all day, every day. But once you establish a fixed position, a forward operating base, it's over.
It is a basic rock in the middle of the desert, and it does the kinds of things that you would be able to see in these areas. This area here would be the defended area that you spoke about. Yeah. That has all the radar installations. It's also very mountainous. This might be an area that they could consider for invasion, but there are roads and other things here. So there are several different targets that could potentially.
Oh shit, Mike Prisoner. Breaking, U.S. Marines and sailors are actively revolting. Troops in the 31st MEU and on warships headed to the Middle East are filing emergency conscientious objector claims to stop their deployment. The Pentagon is terrified as the ranks refuse to fight Trump's war. Yeah. You can too, by the way. I'm going to keep posting the phone number and keep showing it to you. You can apply for conscientious objector status, okay? You can do that, even if you're being deployed.
Oh, absolutely. We have more than one client in the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, others who are out of Pendleton, that other Marine force that's being sent over. We have a client who's on a ship headed to the Middle East right now to be presumably part of an invasion force. So yes, I mean, just this weekend, I mean, we were dealing with at least 4 kind of rapid turnaround, like people who contacted us saying, I got 1 day, I just found out I'm deploying in a day or 2 days, and working with those people to file expedited claims so we can demand that their command do what's right and keep them home. And so absolutely, and I think the important thing is some people would think that, oh, you can't just at the last minute say you're a CO and not be deployed. You absolutely can. You are.
What the fuck? No way. Is there a second source on this? He is the source, bro. Is Mike Prisoner. He runs a he runs like a philanthropic organization that offers legal counsel to troops that want to apply for conscientious objector status. Yes, he's an Iraq War veteran. He's a PSL guy, Party for Socialism and Liberation.
Entitled, service members have the right to submit a CO application.
Yeah, CCW4COs.
At any time, right before a deployment, while they're on a deployment, people can file CO applications and have. This happened during the Iraq War. Infantry soldiers filing a CO when they are frontline combatants. And so, again, it's a right that people have that they don't know they have. And our job is to make sure people know that they have those rights and provide them the support.
Okay. Another Strato tanker hit, by the way.
Be beachheads, but it is a difficult place to invade at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously that is where some of those casualties come in.
Yes.
I mean, the potential casualties, the risk here when you talk about.
My 78-year-old mother just bought my 42-year-old ass some new merch as a gift. She sometimes finds your words a bit harsh, but still supports you. Thank you from both of us. Hell yeah.
The mountainous area and
Ideology.shop. American made, union made.
Small, but there's a lot there.
Absolutely, there's a lot there, and of course, if they hold the high ground until it's bombed, that could give them a field of fire that could control approaches like at this beach right here, or even in the southern areas. So it's a very critical element here that has to be decided, and there has to be a lot of fusion of different forces, air power along with infantry, along with other elements of power.
So Iran has been threatening now new threats against U.S. troops who are not staying on U.S. bases, okay? And that might seem a bit confusing, but there's a reason for that. Some of it is, as CNN's reported, some of those troops were moved off the bases before the war even began. But the New York Times is reporting that even more troops were moved off the bases because the bases have been hit. Yeah. And there has been meaningful damage. How much damage is Iran causing to the U.S. bases in the region?
So this is pretty significant. These are the bases as we know them right now, and these are the bases that were actually struck by the Iranians. So that includes everything from Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE, Al Udeid in Qatar, Prince Sultan Air Base, where we did have a casualty, a death near Riyadh, and I've been stationed there. And then, of course, at Port Shuaiba, where we had the mass casualty event with the Army National Guard soldiers. So this is a critical element right here. And of course, they also ended up attacking the area in Bahrain. So this is the Port Shuaiba strike. And what that really shows is that when you look at this area, this shows the vulnerability of each one of these. This is the Bahrain strike, where they knocked out a communication communications element here. And so these bases are particularly vulnerable because each of them have a unique mission set. And what they ended up doing was move a lot of personnel into office buildings, into other areas, even into hotels. And now what they're doing is they're actually telling people in Iran and in this region right here, they're actually telling them to target Americans in those hotels, in those office spaces. So it's become dangerous in that way as well.
Right.
I now give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Sayed Abbas Arakchi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished delegates, dear colleagues. Iran stands today amid the throes of an illegal war imposed by two bullying nuclear-armed regimes, the United States and Israel. This war of aggression is blatantly unjustified and brutal. They initiated this aggression on 28 February, while Iran and the United States were engaged in a diplomatic process to resolve Americans' alleged concerns over Iran's nuclear program. They betrayed diplomacy for a second time in the course of 9 months by torpedoing the negotiating table.
Oh, there's been no Houthi statement yet. Did you? Iran agrees to facilitate passage of humanitarian shipments through Hormuz Strait at UN's request 5 minutes ago. See, look, this is what I mean. They are still playing by the old rules, no matter how much America and Israel does not. And I don't know. I don't think it's a weakness necessarily, but I think it's just like what the Chinese were doing initially, which is, look, in spite of all of the things that are happening to us, like, we are still willing to show stability. We're still willing to play by the old rules. I find that a strange choice, but who knows? Because the United Nations has no capabilities, right? Not sure if you mentioned it, but for military members to successfully granted CO status, they must state their outlook changed after joining the military. Well, the fucking legal counsel probably will tell you exactly what you can and can't say. Don't try to apply for conscientious objector on your own. That's why there are, there's legal aid that you can get. Galabaf is looking at the markets. They've spammed so much fake news by trying to push energy prices down that the market's just numb now. Keep going. Nobody's buying it anymore. The real prices will show up anyway. Powerful, maybe, but smart, not even close. Burned that fake news card way too early. They're just shit posting. It's incompetent appeasement at this point. No, the thing that led this war to them in the first place. Yeah. Global opinion matters. The rest of the world sympathizes with Iran. It makes it very hard for EU to just justly join the fight. I don't think you understand how depraved the European counterparts are here, okay? They do not operate like that. I don't think they operate like that, but we'll see. In defense of speaking with Hasan the Hun on breaking point. Yeah, I know. We'll talk about Abdul's response in a second. In a little
Among
bit.
the most harrowing manifestations of this aggression was the calculated, phased assault on Shajara Tayyaba Elementary School in the city of Minab, south of Iran, where more than 175 students and teachers.
You guys want to know why I think it's a foolhardy endeavor? Because Israel did a genocide for the past 2.5 years. And they received such little state pushback. Like, in terms of what they deserved, they received basically no state pushback. Yes, broad awareness initiatives and steady protests were launched. And the consciousness, the collective consciousness shifted in the direction of truth and justice. Overwhelming majorities in the Western world now are they've arrived at the same conclusion that developing nations already knew a very long time ago, Having said that, liberal capitalist nations do not have real democracy, especially when it comes to foreign policy. European nations are vassal states, and therefore they cannot betray American interests. Okay? The most successful decoupling initiative that Iran can engage in is actually forcing European capital owners to realize that they must tell their elected representatives to decouple from the United States of America. Because if you understand that European representatives don't abide by the wishes of the majority in the same way that American representatives don't abide by the wishes of the majorities, and simply respond to economic pressures when the real bosses, capital owners, make those phone calls, okay? Only then will Europe move in a different direction than the United States of America. So far, they have abided by, they haven't abided by the wishes of Iran or anything, but so far they've demonstrated restraint when Donald Trump is clearly demanding that they join. Okay? Donald Trump wants NATO to come in, all the NATO countries to come in, all the European countries to come in, not necessarily for additional military, additional units and additional assets and firepower, but more so for the diplomatic pressure that it will create for Iran, because Iran is responsive to that sort of thing. Okay? They have not done so thus far, but I don't think it's because there is this mutual agreement on maintaining stability or abiding by international rules, international standards. I think it's more so because they're worried about the impact. They're worried about the damage that this may cause to their assets.
Were slaughtered in cold blood. This barbaric attack is but the visible tip of a far bigger iceberg, one that conceals beneath its surface far graver catastrophes, namely the normalization of the most abhorrent violations of human rights and humanitarian law, and the audacity to commit atrocity crimes with impunity. Mr. President, at a time when the American-Israeli aggressors, in their own assertions, possess the most advanced technologies and the highest precision military and data systems, no one can believe that the attack on the school was anything other than deliberate and intentional. Targeting Shajar Tayyib School was a war crime and a crime against humanity, one that demands unequivocal condemnation by all and unambiguous.
The actions of the European states should not be assumed to be popular or even substantially unpopular. No, the European populations, just like the United States of America, don't want this. Okay? But Europe has two different pressure points. One, European leadership, European countries have to abide by, one, their own capital masters, their own capital owners, and two, they have to abide by whatever America's interests are. So far, they haven't fully committed to whatever America's trying to do, because even for them, it's a bridge too far. It kind of reminds me of Donald Trump saying, we're just going to forcibly take over Greenland, right? That's what it reminds me of when they were like, okay, that's too much. You're embarrassing us. This goes far beyond, previous incursions. You're violating the principle in NATO, right? Their populace has way more power to actually protest because they aren't nearly as car-centric.
Accountability for the culprits. This atrocity cannot be justified, cannot be concealed, and must not be met with silence and indifference. The attack on Shajar Tayyib School in Minab was not a mere incident nor a miscalculation. The United States' contradictory remarks aimed at justifying their crime could not, in any manner, elude their responsibility. To denounce such a merciless assault on a place inherently civilian, a place where the most innocent reside and pursue knowledge, is not merely a legal obligation under human rights frameworks. It is a moral and human imperative. Our conscience will judge us more profoundly than any tribunal ever could. Distinguished delegates, Shajar Tayyib Elementary School has not been the only casualty of American-Israeli atrocity crimes during the past 27 days of their illegal war. Human rights and international humanitarian law have been massively and systematically violated by the invaders in an unprecedentedly brutal manner. They are targeting civilians and civilian infrastructures with no regard for laws of war and basic principles of humanity and civility. More than 600 schools have been demolished or damaged across Iran, and more than 1,000 students and teachers martyred or wounded as the result. The aggressors, who are arrogantly shouting, "No mercy, no quarters," and threatening to strike Iran's vital infrastructure, have been attacking hospitals, ambulances, health workers, Red Crescent rescuers, refineries, water sources, and residential areas. War crime and crime against humanity are not sufficiently describing the gravity of the atrocities they are committing. The aggressors' targeting pattern, accompanied by their rhetoric, leave little doubt as to their clear intent to commit genocide. Distinguished colleagues,
the Houthi
this
statement
unjust
was
war
fake.
of whims by the United States and Israel against the noble nation of Iran is the direct result of silence in the face of earlier manifestations of lawlessness and atrocity in occupied Palestine, Lebanon, and elsewhere. Indifference and silence in the face of injustices would bring no security and peace. It would invite more insecurity and right violations. The United Nations and the core values it embodies, as well as the overall human rights framework, are at serious stake. You all need to call out the aggressors and let them know that the community of states, the human collective conscience, hold them accountable for the abhorrent crimes they are committing against Iranians. Iran has never sought war. Iranians are a peaceful, noble nation inheriting one of the richest civilizations on earth. Yet, they have demonstrated absolute resolve and determination to defend themselves against the brutal aggressors who know no boundary in perpetrating all sorts of crimes, a defense that shall persist as long as needed.
I did describe.
Marco Rubio was asked a bunch of questions off the runway too. Rubio says there should be a plan to keep the Strait of Hormuz open after Iran war. Yeah, after. How do we get there is the real question.
To our allies, however, that immediately after this thing ends, we're done with our objectives, one of the immediate challenges we're going to face is an Iran that may decide that they want to set up a tolling system in the Straits of Hormuz. Not only is this illegal, it's unacceptable, it's dangerous to the world, and it's important that the world have a plan to confront it. The United States is prepared to be a part of that plan. We don't have to lead that plan, but we're happy to be a part of it. These countries have a lot at stake, not just the G7 countries, but countries in Asia and all over the world have a lot at stake and should contribute greatly to that effort to ensure that neither the Straits of Hormuz or frankly any international waterways should ever be something that's controlled or tolled by a nation state or by a terroristic government like the one that exists in Iran today in that radical clerical regime. So there seemed to be a lot of buy-in to that concept. There's a lot of work happening right now. The UK has played a prominent role in bringing that together, but other countries as well. And there seems to be a lot of acceptance of all that. And our allies and partners here, at least to me, seem to be appreciative of updates on our operation and an understanding of what lies ahead over the next few weeks. I think they all gave a commitment that they understood the necessity for it potentially, and that there would be a need to participate in something like that. I think some of the confusion over the first couple weeks, maybe in the media, maybe in other forums, is this idea that somehow we were asking for that to start immediately. I think we've always viewed it as a post.
Third wave neoliberal TV.
Look, I don't care what Iran says. The first few tankers that go through the straits after this operation is over, they're going to want an escort from somebody, or they're not going to be able to get insurance. So the world better step up.
This is Manila, the capital of the Philippines, and the people.
Yeah, there is